Hi, I'm Martin from Pointfire. This year I was hoping to entice you with a booth, games, prizes, giveaways. No kidding. No.
I have to settle for 60 seconds here to show you our very cool new translation tool for the brand new SharePoint multilingual publishing feature.
The new feature is available for certain modern pages on communication site. Out of the box, if you click on Translation, it opens up a translation panel. From there, you can create a copy of the page. It doesn't actually translate it. Let's create one for French, and then let's go view that page. The page is still in English. Someone on your staff has to translate it and to publish it. Let's try that again. This time I've activated Pointfire Translation Automation. So once again, let's create one for French, and then let's view that page. By the time we view it, Pointfire has already translated for your approval. Go to try.pointfire.com for a free trial or contact us for a demo.
All right, big thank you there to Icefire and the rest of our silver sponsors. And with that, take it away, Shari.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just jumping at the bit to get in there. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off officially. So again, I'm Shari Oswald. I am with Power Up Learning, and we are a partnership of group of trainers and consultants that if I don't know cool stuff, I know cool people who do. And we are here today to talk about learning pathways. And as you probably know, the shoving software out into the world without giving people a heads up or making them ask for it doesn't always go very well. So part of that, learning pathways is one of the applications that you can use, or the platforms that you can use within your organization that's actually free, woohoo, and you can implement it to be the foundation of your adoption framework. All right, so we at Power Up Learning, we focus on learning, and that's part of that. All right, so today we are doing a Child First Fund. This is M365 Chicago Public Schools, so the Children First Fund. Please make donations if you're able. I know many of us speakers have deferred any kind of speaker gift in order to support this charity, and always good to give back. So, all right, massive thank you to our sponsors. These events do not happen without the sponsors ever. Veeam is one of those names you see all over the place, but many of these events are sponsored by the same people. We see them each and every event and want to thank them, and definitely appreciate them supporting these community events. In person is always better, but virtual is great. So make sure you go out and visit them. I'm close friends with several of the ones that are on here, and they're amazing groups and very talented organizations. All right, I'm going to show this again at the end. So is this the QR code that's not correct?
Yeah, the QR code's not correct, but the link is.
Okay, so at the bottom.
We'll get you a new QR code at the end of the day. Okay,
perfect. So just to let you know, if you've got your phone ready and you're going to snap that, it's not going to do you any good right now, but definitely use the link that's at the bottom. And Heather, if you can put that in the chat right now, that would be helpful too. All right, raffles and giveaways, always the fun stuff. Jump out there, put your name in the hat, and see if you can win a gift card. And Teams Refresher. For those of you that may be new to Teams, and I find this often, the device settings tend to be the problem. Oops. There we go. Device settings tend to be the problem. If you can't hear, check your device settings. That's the number one there. Make sure that either, like, I have probably 4 different devices included on my machine, and make sure that the audio and the video match what you're looking for. And if you want to, you can apply background effects and turn on live captions if you like. That's always kind of nice if you're in a loud room, or maybe you have difficulty hearing things. That's a good, helpful tool there. The translation is actually pretty good. Some were kind of funny. And interact with me. Use the 4 and the 5 at the top. We want to make sure that you are able to ask questions, answer questions. Let me know if you like things. Sometimes, again, we're virtual and we're talking to a wall. Be nice to know we're talking to people out there. So thanks again for joining me today. All right. So who am I? I'm Shari Oswald. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and a Microsoft Office specialist master. My nickname, they call me Shortcut Shari, and it kind of stuck. I use it for my Twitter. It's also my Facebook. I have a blog. I have, you can also email me if you have any questions. And I'm also a US qualified facilitator for the customer immersion experience. So if you've ever attended ones, they're great and they're awesome for adoption. If you're trying to get people to visualize what's going on and what they're getting, and they're great. You can actually get them for free by requesting them from the Microsoft staff. So if you have a representative that you work with Microsoft, you might be able to get it for free. And be sure, there's only 4 vendors that you can request, and we're one of the 4. So ask for us. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about learning pathways. I want to give you a reason why. Why would you use learning pathways, and why should you work on adoption? I don't know about you all, but as a trainer for the last almost 20 years, I have people that sit in my classroom, and some of them are chomping at the bit. They're sitting in the front row. They're all excited for what I'm going to share them. And then I have the other people that are sitting in the back that their boss made them show up. They don't really wanna, but they have to, and they are resistant to why they're there. So that's the gamut that we work with. We've got the people that are excited. We've got the people that are resistant, and there's a whole bunch of people in the middle. It's kind of a bell curve. You have more people in the middle that are like, yeah, this is cool, it'd be nice to know, but not the ones that are really excited about it. So how do you make sure that people are excited about the new journey and the new applications are available to them? I have one group that I'm working with right now, not kidding, they're still on Windows 7, which is not even secure. They are still using Internet Explorer, I think 7. Again, not secure. So sometimes we have to, because of how technology is evolving, we have to move them whether they like it or not. And but we do want them to like that journey and not be afraid of it. So we, especially as trainers, actually I don't really like the word trainer, but as learning experts, we focus on not just the click steps, but why they would want to change. So why do we focus on change management? Because resistance is normal. Not everybody is as excited. It's like, I've been doing this for 20 years. I like the way I do it. Why would I change? Because there's a whole lot of things that have to happen. And sometimes it's forced on us because of security and technology evolution, right? Especially as we can all relate to in the last, more than a year now, that the shift had to happen real fast. People had to be able to work remotely. And I actually had one organization that I worked for, for 5 years, they're like, we're moving to Office 365. We're moving to Office 365. And then they put it off, and they put up like, our people can't handle that much change. Well, guess what? They did, and very quickly. So we underestimate our people in our organization and their willingness, especially if they have to, right? Well, it's still not pretty, but it's better than nothing. So the other reason is shadow IT is a real thing. If you do not give people the tools they need to do their job, they will find a way to do their job. If you don't give them a way to share files like with OneDrive or SharePoint, they're going to go out and they're going to find other products like Dropbox or that people can share, or Google Drive. That doesn't necessarily mean that your content for your organization is now secure and you lose control of it. So if you want to minimize, I'm not going to say eliminate because I don't know if that's realistic, the use of shadow IT, you need to make sure that people are using the tools and give them the tools that they need. Not all people are the same, and we need to remember that. We have people, I don't know about you all, but I have to put my hands on things in order to learn something new. I can't just watch, and I can't just hear. I kind of need a combination of the watch and the hear and the hands-on in order for me to pick something up. And luckily, there's certain areas I pick that up quickly. We were kind of talking beforehand that I don't PowerShell because my brain is not wired that way. I can, if I can find code and I can kind of reverse engineer it if I need to, but I can't sit down and write it out. That's not where my brain works. So not everybody works the same, not everybody thinks the same, and not everybody learns the same way. So we need to keep that in mind, and why we work with change management instead of just training. We need to use everything at our disposal so we make sure we hit everybody where they are. So how do we do that? We have this thing called the ADKAR model. if you haven't heard, this is part of this is a change management strategy. And Leanne McManus, who's speaking later today, she's my business partner. She's actually certified in this through POSI. And it really, this is things that are common sense until somebody picks apart and actually shows it to you. And you're like, oh, yeah, I would just assume that everybody knows that you want people to be aware of things and then desire those things. But that's not true. This is a framework that you can work from, and it's how we implement everything. So let's pick that apart. All right, so we're going to change something. The first thing we need to do is create awareness of that change. And one of the ways that we do that when we're working with our clients on their change management adoption strategy is using Learning Pathways as the platform, because it's free, it's included. Creating adoption campaigns so people are aware. And if you don't put things in front of them, people may not see it. Adoption campaigns are a struggle because the nonprofit I worked for here, I used to do these lunch and learns on probably once or twice a month. And they had monitors that were up in the hallways. They had newsletters that went out once a week. They had a website where you could go find things. And I would advertise these lunch and learns on every single one of those because it was something, kind of my give back to the nonprofit, and it was free for them. And invariably, the day after I would do my OneDrive session or my OneNote session, somebody was like, hey, when are you going to do your OneNote session? I'm like, I just did it. How could you not know, right? Well, this organization does fundraisers, and each department has a fundraiser. It's a competition. There's one of them uses this cupcake truck. So X amount of money from the cupcake sale goes back to their fundraiser. That's the one that everybody knew about because they had little I call them cupcake cards. They were postcards that they would put on people's desks. So sometimes it's still that piece of paper that lets people know. They're not going to see an email. They're not going to see the monitors. They're not going to see the newsletter, read the newsletter that came out. You have to find the way to meet them. So the adoption campaigns are a little bit difficult. And then we also do what we call buzz sessions. And these are like probably half hour to 45 minutes with some time for questions. And basically just let them know, hey, did you know that you can share and sync your files with OneDrive? Did you know that you can co-author? Did you know that you can use Stream to create videos and put them into your environment? So those are, if you don't tell them, people don't usually have time to go in and explore. So we're going to show them using all of these avenues and hopefully get their attention. The next thing we do based on those, like the adoption campaign, we want to build desire for that solution. How do we make them ask for it? Please, 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 can I have this? And we take that from the stance of what's in it for me. This is an adult learning theory, an adult mentality. Don't waste my time. And why should I care? What's in it for me? You want to find out, if you can, from your audience, what are their pain points? Find out what those business challenges are that on a daily basis, they're like, oh my gosh, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And that's how we build desire. We solve those problems. So if you can find out what those are and build an adoption campaign around it or a video around it, then you're going to start having them ask and beg you for the new technology. Immerse them in the tools to experience what's possible. Those are the CIEs, the customer immersion experience. And again, we start those off with discovering their business challenges, and between the 2.5 to 3 hours that we explore with them, we've solved their issues hands-on on the devices, and they're so excited. So I love doing the immersion experiences. Honestly, if I never teach Word Level 1 again, I'm good. I love doing these because we make real change in 2.5 to 3 hours. And some people push back on like, can it just be an hour? I'm like, no, it can't be, because by the end of the 2.5 to 3 hours, they're begging for more. It's just not enough time. So we love doing those. And then if we are working with them on building their SharePoint sites and their SharePoint environment, we ideate with them on what features would be helpful. If you're emailing out announcements, why don't we use news instead? If you're trying to inform people about events, why don't we use a calendar? So we start asking them what would help them to solve that issue. 99% of the time, what I hear is people are sick of email. They're desensitized to it because they get too much of it and they don't read them anyway. All right, so gaining knowledge, that's the K. So the next thing we're going to do is engage them in that implementation, and then say, what are we going to do with all of this? How are we going to engage people and get them to use this? So we do user acceptance testing, and then we do training so that's targeted to that specific audience. So if it's finance, we may do training that's focused more around Excel. If we're doing marketing, we may do things that are focused around how to manage their assets and marketing. So we're going to target them. All right, then we have increasability, and those are the training, and then the reinforcement. So using the tools that they use, we're going to help them to be more effective with those, and then remind them. The reinforcement is, how do you make sure that they retain what they learned, or that, sometimes building the awareness, you're just making them aware that it's there. The reinforcement, you give them tools so they can go, oh, Shari said something about co-authoring. What was that? They need tools and options to be able to go back and refresh their memory. We're going to focus on the creating awareness right now for learning pathways. All right, this is not something I came up with. This is not my content. I want to make that very clear. I don't claim any ownership or development or anything, but everything I'm showing you now comes from the SharePoint Adoption Playbook, and there's a URL there. I did already upload my slide deck, so you can download it anytime, but if you want to take a quick screenshot, you can do that here. Here's the shortcut, Shari. Window print screen, which is usually above your arrow keys. We'll take a quick screenshot. But you can go down to aka.ms/adoption if that's easier, and look that up, okay? What do those scenarios look like? How do we build the awareness of the scenarios? Asking people what their pain points are. We need to ask people, what is the challenge you have? I get too much email. I have too many versions of documents floating around. We don't know which is the right one. We're going to start identifying what those issues are. Every single time I have to do a report for my boss, I have to export it from this database, and it takes me 4 hours to massage it and make it look right, and then make a pretty report, and then I have to do the same thing next week. Can I save you 4 hours a week with Power BI? You bet I can. So but until we ask them what their issues are, we can't solve them for them. So we're going to identify those scenarios, and then there's a little formula for that I'll share with you in here just a moment. So some of those scenarios are, how do we share and work together? How do we inform and engage people? How do we transform those business processes? And how do we find out from the group what their collective knowledge is? We need to identify those things to come up with those scenarios. All right. Here's the little formula that I was talking about. As someone in, I want to, using, and then you always want to have a successful outcome. So how do you know that fixed the problem? You can identify all the problems that you want. That's kind of my thing. I never complain about something unless I have a better idea or a solution for it, because complaining doesn't do anything, right? So let's find a solution for that. We need to know what that looks like. It's like, if we solve this, what would that be? So as someone in sales management, I want to train my sales reps who are dispersed geographically on the new products, using, and then what tools do you want to use for that? And sometimes we don't know. It's like, I don't know what tools are there. So part of this discovery process can unveil maybe some of the tools to them, or make them aware of them. All right, and then I'll know that that's successful when everybody has completed this course. Okay, so how do we find good scenarios, not just complaints and not just people whining? Does it solve a real problem? Is it something that everybody has, or a large group of people have? You don't want to spend a lot of time solving a problem for one person. You want to make sure that it's something that's a little more audience driven. Is it obtainable? Can you actually do it? Will it be widely used, again, by many people? And does it provide return on investment, ROI? Does it give you money back? Does it give you time back? Does it make people more productive? So this is how, when you're triaging, maybe you get 300 scenarios or 30 scenarios or 3 scenarios. How do you prioritize which ones you start with? That all depends on how many people it's going to touch. You might want to start with the ones that have the larger audience. You start seeing some commonalities in what people bring to you. Or you're like, wow, we pay this guy $500 an hour, and he says he spends 4 hours a week creating this report. That's some big ROI if we can automate that and make sure that it's available all the time. All right, so we measure those on impact, and ease of implementation. Sometimes something's a real low-hanging fruit. I can spin up a SharePoint site, show you how to create news web parts so we're not getting as many email. Real easy. I can knock that out pretty quickly. If I have to develop a Power BI solution or Power Automate solution that taps into an external database and posts it over, that's going to take a little more time. So you created this little chart on how to prioritize those. All right, so our foundation for all of this, where do we put the content that we want to use to share with people after we've identified the scenarios and we're going to start using those adoption campaigns? Learning pathways. It is a solution from Microsoft, and it is based in SharePoint, of course. I love SharePoint. I've been using SharePoint since before it was called SharePoint. It was called Content Management Server back in the beginning, and it's been a platform, but people have used it as a document dump forever. If you didn't know, SharePoint is a platform you can build on, and that's where these solutions come from. It's very easy to provision. I'll show you the steps for that. And then you can create your own training playlist. It comes with some built-in content that is based on the office.com/training, but you can customize that. And then you can always add new content, and then Microsoft keeps it up to date for you. Woohoo, like Heather and I know, as soon as when we create a course and publish a video, what do? They change things. Yeah, so up-to-date content, are you serious? I don't have to go back and make sure the standard content isn't up to date? Nope, I don't. Microsoft does it. All right, so Microsoft is constantly evolving. If you've not gone out to the Microsoft 365 roadmap, you might want to go check it out. So this screenshot was taken last month. There's 337 items in development just for the Microsoft Office productivity stack. This is not Azure. This is not the Power Platform. This is just the productivity applications. There's 105 of them rolling out and 233 have launched. That's a lot, and that's a lot of changes. So you don't want to have to be the one that has to keep up that standard content. You want to be able to add this stuff to the platform that helps you to keep up to date on your specific content for your organization. So we're going to leverage some of that. All right, so the content is maintained, and anybody can go here, Microsoft.com/training or Office.com/training. I think it's Office. I need to fix that. And it will show you there's these little snippets and videos that you can utilize. The problem with those is that's everything. So for example, if you don't have Yammer in your organization, you're not releasing it, those are there. If you're not using Delve, those are there. People can see them and they can look at them. So controlling what people are working on or have access to and giving them reasonable expectations can be a little difficult if you're just giving them this open platform of all the content. All right, so buyer beware with Learning Pathways. It's maintained by Microsoft. The content is free to use. It's customizable within Learning Pathways, and you can add your own content. The cons are this is a solution, not a product. Microsoft has provided this. You can provision it into your environment, but they don't update it. There's no support for it. You can't put a ticket in if you're having an issue with it. So just be aware that if you're going to deploy this, you're going to have somebody with some significant Microsoft 365 admin skills at your disposal, whether it is a contractor or somebody internally. They're going to have to be able to keep things up to date for you. All right, so let's show you what this looks like. I'm going to show you how to create Learning Pathways, and then we're going to customize it. There is a they say 4 easy steps. I don't think some of these are easy, but one of the first things you have to do is read over the multilingual support for Learning Pathways, choose your setup option, tailor it to your environment, and then share that with your other users using the adoption tools, okay? So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. Installing. If you go out to just search for SharePoint Lookbook or Microsoft Lookbook and I have that queued up here. I'll show you in a demo. You have to first install the app catalog. So you have to be an admin in your tenant in order to install the app catalog. If it's not already there, it will warn you and say you don't have this. So you have to be a global administrator in order to do that. And again, here's a little reference for how to use the app catalog and how to install it. It's not hard. It's just something that you have to have the rights to be able to do. So you may have to coordinate with your administrator. Right, then read the documentation. So you want to read all of that content that comes up. And now I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, I have office.com and I'm logged in as a global admin from the admin panel. If you have to install the app store, then you go into your SharePoint administrator panel. And under advanced, oops, no, more features. They keep moving these. All right, and under apps right here, it says open. So this is how when you go into SharePoint, it has like the little app store on the left-hand side. This is how you authorize which ones your organization is allowed to use. So you have to install the app catalog, or you can purchase them from the SharePoint store. So under the app catalog, oh, it already installed it. It'll ask you to create one. And there's a little, it'll say, do you want this to be an existing one, or do you want it to be, is there one already here? Now this takes 2 hours, which is why I can't show you live, because come back in 2 hours doesn't usually work when you're doing a presentation. So after it's done, it'll look like this, and you know it's ready. Okay. Then you go out to the SharePoint Lookbook. And again, I just searched SharePoint Lookbook in any browser, and I get this link right here. So it's lookbook.microsoft.com if you want to write that down and get there quicker. I just want you to know you can find it very easily. If you haven't seen this before, this is a great inspiration for building out your SharePoint portal. We use this as the foundation for every consulting engagement that we do, because I can build a whole showcase, but why? They've already done it for me. Give them some ideas of how they might want their content to look. Under the View the Designs option, you have one called Solutions. So here's the solutions, and you're going to pick the Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways. Now notice there's some additional ones here. So if you need an employee onboarding site for a department or for a corporate site, this is awesome. So if you want to explore some of these other ones, you can as well. All right, so I'm going to go to Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways and add to your tenant. Here's where it gets brutal. It knows you're logged in as the admin. It recognizes your credentials. It knows that you're working in the Sites node. So there's 2 nodes. You want to be in Sites, not Teams. Teams is where it creates the Microsoft Teams based groups. And then it gives it a URL. So this is the URL. The default is M365 LP for Learning Pathways. Then you click Provision. Brutal, right? Like 3 clicks and it provisions it for you. It's awesome. It does take a little time. There's a script running in the background, but within about, I don't know, half an hour or so, you'll start seeing it populate. The first time you open it, it's going to look like a standard SharePoint communication site. If you're just chomping at the bit, you want to go look, you have to wait. So make sure that you wait for it to populate all the content in there for you. All right, so this, when I click provision, I'm just going to put in here LP2 because I already have one. This is going to provision another one. It's going to say, here's the validating prerequisites. If I did not have the app catalog, it would tell me you don't have the app catalog and you need to have it installed. And then you go back and install it. And it's telling you what it's doing. Now, there are some people that don't like this automatic provisioning. Federal government, for example, does not allow these APIs to talk to their environment. There's a great, if you go out and search, and I'll see if I can find it too, Emily Mancini, and I think it was, oh my gosh, was it Laura Rogers? Somebody else did another one with, you can go to GitHub and get the bits and install it manually if you want to. Just depends on what your organization allows or doesn't allow you to do. All right, so I'm going to say confirm, and it's going to do its happy thing, provisioning in progress. It's got this little circle running, and in about 20 minutes to half an hour, this is what it's going to look like. So it gives you a good starting space. Again, it's a communication site. We've got the hero web part with the content that's already built in. If we scroll down, we've got some news posts, and we have, I've added some additional content here as well to get ready for this. The admin link is under the home, and if you want to see where the administration is, you can see it here. So this is the Learning Pathways Administration. Oh, please don't do this. My other environment was doing this yesterday. No. I tested this yesterday. It was working fine. May need to give it a second. Okay.
It's because we're all watching.
I know.
Shy. You know that.
Good morning. Do you need some coffee? It should be pulling up screens that let you pick which applications that you want to display. And let's try it from the other way. So the Admin Success Center. So this is your Success Center. It's telling me it has a configuration issue. And it's directing me to GitHub, letting me know that there's a problem. It wasn't there yesterday. Yep, the same page. Darn it. All right, there is a page that shows all, and that's like the rest of my presentation is showing you how to customize this stuff. This one's still working. We'll see if we can give it another time. Let me see if I can find my other one and see if it's happy. 1 second. Leanna, I know you're there, and I'm really tempted to go and visit the other one that we did, but we don't have permission from the client to show it. Let's see. Come on. I'm just going to see if it fixes itself. Let's go back. Oh, lovely. This is why you always build a screenshot deck. All right, so this. So must be something wrong. So do you see this? Mine is doing the same thing. Let me get back here. Yep, every single one of them is doing the same thing. It's not populating the links. Okay, so what you should be seeing on the left-hand side, there are what are called learning paths. And there are 4 of them that are out of the box. So if I go back to the home page, these are those learning paths. So get started with 6 simple steps, Microsoft 365 training, working remotely. And when you click on that, it takes you to a page that usually displays the content for that learning path. So I'm going to have to figure out what this issue is and maybe have to record this and share it online. I did do this session for M365 Admin Day, and so those were recorded and published, so if you wanted to see what that looks like. All right. When you're creating the learning paths, I can't show you that, but I can show you that the content comes from within this library. The library is the Pages library. So if you go under the cog menu and choose the site contents, you're going to want to create what they're call an asset, which is not this custom assets list. They are pages. So if I go into the site page here, you can see when it provisioned it did for all of the different languages. And we have a page for each one of these lessons. Now, one of the things that I would do here, I like building the learning paths, but it's just one big library with a bunch of stuff in it. You can see I started building this out yesterday to, some of the assets that I was going to use for the demo today. Each one of these are basically a lesson in your learning path. What I would do and encourage you to do is create a lookup column either to another list in SharePoint. Remember, this is a platform that references which learning paths that you are developing, and then assign those, because then you can create a view in this library that is grouped by that learning path. So if it is if it's a lookup to another one, you could, or you could just use a choice field and say maybe this is the safety learning path. Safety awareness, I'm going to call this learning path. And my choices are going to be safety awareness, employee onboarding, and let's do product updates. You can add additional ones if you need to. You can also let people, if you don't give them the option, you can change the values manually and let people add whatever they want. I don't encourage this because once I create views on things, I don't want to have to think, if somebody misspelled something, I want them to have to pick it, and then I make it required. So when they're in there, so we're going to make it required. Allow multiple selections because you can't have the same video or the same lesson in multiple items, and then make that required. That way now I can add I can create views around that as to which learning path these items are in. So let's look at one of the pages. Let's see if it's going to pull it up. There we go. All right, so this is what the pages look like. Now this might look familiar. So I have all these products: Outlook, OneDrive, Word. So this is getting started with Office 365. Where is this content coming from? It's coming from office.com/training. And here's the standard apps, and you can click the More Office apps, and it gives you a link for each of the applications. Now, great starting point, I'd have to say. It has not put me out of a job yet. I have over 7 hours of Microsoft Access, and there's about 20 minutes of Microsoft Access in here. So if you want, but it's a great starting point if people need them. Now, again, the difficulty with this platform is that you can't take away, like Skype for Business is here. That's been deprecated. You don't want people to even know about it or ask about it, because people are like, oh, what's this? I want to use this. Well, no, you can't even use it anymore. If you're not giving everybody a license for Visio, maybe you would want to remove that. If you're not deploying Yammer, like government will never have Yammer in its environment. So you can take that out. Can't do that here because this is Microsoft's site. But when you go into your SharePoint training here, in that lovely page that's not populating, there's a little eyeball that you just deselect the products that you don't want to include. And then when people hit this page, they won't even know it exists. So this is a SharePoint web part that is tied to learning pathways that's deployed, and that web part can be filtered for what you want them to see. Let me see if I can do that on the page. All right, so here is the web part. I'm just going to edit it. Here is the Microsoft Learning Pathways. What do you want the web part title to be? So at the top, what do you want this to say? Do you want to be content only or the full web part? Or do you want to filter? So these categories, subcategories, and playlists are what's controlled in that page that's not populating for me. So you create those categories, you create subcategories, and then you assign the content to it and those assets, and it builds this for you. It is so cool. So if I just wanted to say only show the category for getting started, then I would choose this one. So that's the one that's been selected here. Or if I want to choose the subcategory and choose a specific product. So these are the items that, again, you can hide and show in that control page, and you can say, yeah, I only want to show the SharePoint ones, and you can filter it down to that. And you see now these are the SharePoint lessons that look a whole lot like the ones that are out here. Quick start intro, create site, share, and sync. And Here's the same one, quick starts, getting intro, share and sync, right? Same content, you get to customize it. People don't get confused because they're seeing everything they shouldn't have. All right, so you're going to create these pages, and those pages can be promoted onto a website. Well, maybe you have custom content that you want to share and not this out of the box content. Maybe out in my stream channel, I have some videos that I've got for, this is the Contoso rollout. Here's the privacy option. I've got channels with information technology, marketing, product, or all hands. If I discover the content here, I have videos. So here's the, the safety video, and maybe I remember that safety awareness learning path. There's another safety video. So I might want to create a channel that brings those together, and then I create a learning path out of that. So you can add on your pages a stream video web part that displays your content and not the learning pathways content that comes from Office 365. All right, so if you haven't worked with Stream before, you can create a group, you can create a channel. So let's say I'm going to do a safety awareness. And being safe in the workplace. Is this a group channel or a company-wide channel? If it's only for a specific group in your organization, you can choose that, company-wide channel, and then you can add a custom image if you wanted to. So these, you can upload any picture and it becomes the background for that channel. So I'm going to click create here, and now I want to add some of those videos to the safety awareness channel. So under discover again videos, I'm going to go back to these, and under the more actions, let's see. Let's update the video. I think that she's an owner of this, so she can pull it in. All right. So the how do you want to share this? I'm going to share it with a channel and search for safety. Here's the safety awareness and apply. Kind of an odd UX for me here. I always want to go down and to the right to save. And if you click share here, it actually just gives you the share link for what that looks like. You do want to capture that if you want to put that on a page. So here is the share link direct to the video. Copy that. And I'm going to show you a shortcut Shari trick here in a second. All right, so that's been assigned to the channel. I'm going to apply that one. Go back. Okay, go back into my videos, find the other one. So here's quadcopter safety. Again, edit this one, share it with the same channel. And apply. All right, so you can also find the share link from here. So if you need the link, if you didn't get it when you were editing it, you can copy it from here. Now, I'm going to show you a Windows trick. Window V is a collect and paste. If you don't have two monitors, copy paste, minimize, maximize, and pasting, it can be very frustrating. Window V is a collect and paste, and it brings up a clipboard. And for some reason, it's coming up on my other screen. Let me go in here and try it. Window V. Nope, still coming up on my other screen. Let me bring that one over here and see if it does it still. Nope, still coming up on the screen. Window V is a awesome. You have to turn it on, and then you can copy, paste, paste, paste. And the most recent thing is at the top. You can pin them to that. There we go. So here's the clipboard. You can pin items that you want to keep. So this is the first one I copied. This is the second one I copied. And then you can pin them. So you can see I have my, some links or things I paste all the time, like booking with us, or my statement that I use all the time, or, how do you, book with Shari? And here's like my username and passwords for this tenant, which goes away. And so you can save those and keep them on there if you need them, but they also let you collect them and then repaste them. So that's one little trick for you. All right, so now I want to go back into my learning pathways and take this and add it to a page, because we have to create an asset to add to the playlist. I'm going to go back to the site contents into my site pages, and I'm going to do a new page. This is a blank page. Starting from scratch every single time can be a little frustrating. There's a certain layout that I want to have for each one of my pages. So I like to create templates for my pages. So if I go back to the, let's just go back to home. And instead of doing a new and page from here, notice I have a template, training topic page. And it already has the layout that I want to use for that page. There's 3 that are built in, but you can create any of them that you like. So create a page. Once you create your page and you want to save it as a template, instead of using the save as draft, you save as a template, and then it shows up in that menu on the left-hand side. So create your layout so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I see people do that constantly. I'm like, you can create a template, right? Okay, so this is the safety awareness. I may want to customize the image. So I'm going to do, we can do stock images. Let's do safety and see what comes up. All right, so this is awesome. All right, so I'm just going to use this one. And you can change the focal point of the picture if you want it to be more or less, slide it up and down. All right, here's my training topic, which is going to be safety awareness. And I fill out the other options, and so here is your learning asset. And I'm going to insert a web part for stream. So here's the stream videos. Right now it's going to all of stream, so you'll see it populated with everything. It's like, I don't want all of stream. I want either a single video or I want the channel. So if I want to put a video, then that's where that address comes in handy. I can't browse to it. So here's the first one. And you can even control at what point. So if your learning path is one big video and you're like, I want the first page to be the first 2 minutes and the second page to be the next 2 minutes, you can actually break up the same video across those. So you can't stop it at a certain point, but you can at least start at a certain point. All right, so if you have other things, I love using these for objectives. I think they're visual, they're very helpful. You can also add, I like adding the learning resources. So if you have a job aid or something that goes along with your video or your video asset, you might want to add to that page. Now, you don't have to use your own videos. A lot of people are freaked out by it. I think it's awesome the way that we can create them now, and just about anybody can create videos. If you have PowerPoint, you can record your video, you can record screen shares, and then you can export it out as a video. So you don't have to have all these crazy tools like we do to create these. All right. So there's my stream web part. I have my page. I'm going to go ahead and publish it. And then we'll see if it's populating yet. Let's see if this one has the page I'm hoping for. So this one's done provisioning. There it is. Yay. Okay. This is, right, don't blink and don't make a loud noise. We don't want to scare it. This is that page that's not populating on those other ones, and I'm thinking it's going to die before tomorrow or something like the other one did. But this is where you create your content. So here's those 4, when we saw what are the categories: getting started, scenarios, products, and adoption tools. Those are the 4 categories. In order to add additional categories, you have to do what's called a content pack and script that, and it will create another category. Otherwise, you have to stay within this framework. So under getting started or scenarios, I might want to create a subcategory underneath that same group. So under scenarios, I have safety awareness. I've got modern security, hybrid. Now I'm going to add a new one for safety awareness. If you want to add, this is kind of misleading. It looks like you have to select the language. This is the language for English. If you want to add an additional language, then you would click the drop down here and it would let you use that one. All right. I could choose an image to make. So from my site, let's say I have some pictures in here that I want to use as the background. You can pick your image and then you can save it right here. There's this save and controls are here. Now I have a safety awareness category. Underneath that, I'm going to create, this is my learning path. So I'm going to add a new asset to this. And let's say this is going to be that, what was the name of that video? Quadcopter safety programs, right? You can use the name of the video, or you can use the page. So I use the page. It's going to ask me for that page, this one right here. So I'm going to copy this page address and go back in here and say this is going to be safety in the workplace. Always add a description. People skip this, and it finally, in this one, made it required. The descriptions makes things findable. Everything is searchable. It's our job to make it findable. All right, so here's safety in the workplace stuff. If I want to choose a technology this is tied to, so getting started may have some content for how to log into Office 365, or what are how we're using Planner, or whatever. Those might be part of your options. So you can choose the technology, and that will populate down here which ones you can select. Here's our category. Then you give it a level, and I'm going to say this is beginner. My audience can be any of these. So let's say this is an end user, and I'm going to save the detail. All right, so now I have my subcategory, safety awareness, and I want to add the assets. So I'm going to add an asset here, and you're going to give it a page. Oh, I want the page. Where is... Oh, playlist, sorry, down at the bottom. I'm like, what's going on? All right, I'm not going to create a new one. Oh, please still be there. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so now we're going to add the page. So you're adding the assets, and then you create the playlist. So the playlist are those pages that we created to begin with. So under safety awareness, here's this one. I'm going to add the new asset. So a page equals asset. I could search for one, and it's going to search the pages library. What I found is it's easier just to do the new asset. Okay, go back and give it the title. Select the technology if that makes sense. Create an asset page or enter the URL. I like to create the pages and then create the playlist. You can create the asset page, and it would create the page, and then you go back and build the page, but you can't select a template when you do that. So I like to use my template, create the pages first, and then go back and put the URL in for the page. So there's the asset, save asset. And you can use Planner for the, as you're planning your content, might be a good way. Here's the buckets might be the learning paths that you want to create. The tasks could be the categories, and then the playlist assets can be links to those. So a little bit easier when you're building this out and ready to publish it, because as soon as you add it to here, it is now live. So sometimes you don't want to, you kind of want to plan things out, create the pages first, then go in here and create the playlist and then publish that. All right, I know we're at the end of time, so I'm glad this populated. I'm so happy that it came in. Hopefully that you will, you like the content that was here, and be sure to check out Learning Pathways. I think you'll like it. All right, I had a bunch of other content, but let me just skip to the end. Oops. So be sure to give your feedback on today's session. Thank you for your patience. I don't always have the best luck on some of these. It's really frustrating. I have no control over demo environments. We have control over a whole lot in our life, but definitely not the demo environment. All right, so if you haven't already, we want to thank you for joining us, and you can contact me with the shortcutshari.com, or go out and follow me on Twitter. There's links on shortcutshari.com. The hardest thing to remember is how to spell my name, S-H-A-R-I. I answered any spelling, but that doesn't always work. Okay, so again, just search for that, Facebook, and we're going to ask you for your feedback. So thanks again, and don't forget to support the charity. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks again, Shari. And by the way, the link that's on the screen isn't, and it's not correct. Use the link that's in the chat window. That would be great. And by the way, the recording of this will be posted to our YouTube channel. And if you want to like add any additional content, Shari, or like if the demo's working, if we can add that, we can tack that into the video that we post to our YouTube channel if you want that as an option. That's totally doable. So we can splice it in. You know, it's fine. We do
have
that.
The tools. We have
the tools. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So that'd be great. Yeah. So we do have a question from Larry. Is it possible to pull up the slide before how to create your own scenarios?
Yes, it's also in the slide deck that's available at adoption, aka.ms/adoption. So that I didn't, like I said, I didn't invent that. Let me just go and I'll show you here. And this is where the most common or up-to-date content is going to be anyway. So if you search for they've changed this, of course they have. Yeah, I'll find the link and put it in the chat for you. Okay, but yeah, it's as a person in, I want to, using, and I'll know this is successful when. That's the framework for that. Cool. I want to make sure that the next speaker do we have a speaker after this, or is it going to?
We have lunch, and the next, I think, time frame is 12:30.
Okay, I just didn't nudge
short
out
break
person, so yeah.
I
can pull that back up if I'm not intruding on the next speaker. So. Here, is that the one you're looking for? Hopefully, yeah, the slides are in the files for the session. Yep, I uploaded them last night. The one before that, okay. Again, feel free to take a screenshot. This is not mine. I left all the branding on it. So, yeah, you're welcome. I know it's truly sometimes just having a framework to work from instead of going, we need people to start using SharePoint. You know, okay, but why would they start using SharePoint? Why would they start using Stream? Why would they start co-authoring instead of emailing things around? We need to find out the why. You know, what is the problem? And then we can go from there. I used to have a sign above my desk at the nonprofit here. So what's your problem? It's not like, what's your problem? It's no, what's your problem? I want to solve your problem. I don't want to, you know, perpetuate the issues. Or the other thing I found, people say, I need you to build me this. And I'd build that. And then after I built it, I'm like, oh my gosh, we should have totally done this. I didn't ask them what the problem was. I built them what they asked me for and realized that didn't actually solve the problem, or it did, it like created a whole nother problem. So yeah, what's the problem? You're welcome, Larry. Thank you. Yeah. So Leanne, my backup's there. Thanks, Leanne. All right. Happy to answer a couple more questions. Otherwise, grab some lunch, watch some more sessions. Again, I'm more productivity based. So my go-to speakers this afternoon, Joy Apple, if she wasn't against me, I'd be watching hers. There's also Richard Calderon. Leanne is doing Microsoft Planner. If you haven't seen that one, what's new and what's cool in Planner. There's some great sessions this afternoon. I'll be moderating in the adoption track, so later today. All right, so Chris is asking, hi Chris, have you used learning pathways for non-Microsoft products like Servicenow training? Yes, because if you can bring the asset onto the page, so those web parts, you can bring web parts onto those. Yeah, use it for whatever you need. It's nice to be able to customize that and not have to find another scenario. You know, give everybody one place to go so they're not having to go over here for Servicenow or over here for something else. But as you saw, it's giving me nastygrams that something's out of date, and you have to have somebody on staff or at your disposal that knows enough about GitHub and Bits and PowerShell and to keep those up to date, because otherwise you're going to end up running into errors like I just had. All right, there was a select when you chose Microsoft Learning Pathways, can you have multiple training sources SharePoint sites? Yes, you can create multiple learning pathways instances. All it does is provision a site collection for you and give you the framework. So let's say you want to have different permissions on different ones, then I wouldn't try to secure page by page or video by video. That would be a hassle. So if you have very distinct audiences that you can secure, if that's one of your business needs, you could do that and have multiple, or you just create more subcategories or categories if you can figure out the content pack. All right, Joseph, I've asked a question. I created my own communication site with site pages as content. Should I use the Learning Pathway site to get to the extra bonus? Actually, yes. So, Joseph, when you add the asset, it just asks for a URL. It doesn't have to be a URL in that site collection. The only thing is you want to make sure the pages that you may have created in your other site, that those people have permission to view that content who might be be in Learning Pathways. So that could be an option. Hopefully that helps. Oh, thank you, Chris. Good to see you. Right? It's nice when we start seeing familiar names. It's great. Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good point, Joseph. It's like, I already have all this content over my HR site. Do I have to reinvent it here? No, because the asset on the playlist is just a URL to any page. So you're welcome. I like being a hero. I have my OneNote cape. I could put it on. Like, it's not my SharePoint cape, but I don't have one. I have a OneNote cape. Awesome.
I remember those OneNote capes.
The big purple set.
Yes.
Yeah. I always tell people, don't threaten me to put on my OneNote cape, because I can definitely teach you about OneNote. Yeah. I think Heather Severino and I have a picture of us wearing those at one of the conferences. All right. Any other questions, comments? Go get some food. I know I'm hungry. Right. Thank you, Heather, for your support. I appreciate it, and all your hard work on the conference.
Thank you, Shari.
Right.
Very, very big thanks. All right.
The organizers, a big round of applause.